You are listening to the Ready PDM Network.
This episode of Ready Product Radio is brought to you by Under 10 Consulting. Does your organization rely too often on individual heroics to get products released? What if instead your team could systematically manage your products and services with just fewer than 10 living documents? Under 10 guides you to a minimal process with brief artifacts, simple templates, and ready-to-use worksheets. Is your product team struggling to get products into the marketplace? Then you'll want to talk to Under 10 Consulting. Get a tailor-made product playbook designed specifically for your organization.
This episode was brought to you by Eigenworks. Alan Armstrong founded Eigenworks in August 2008 out of his passion for and understanding of the unique perspective on buyer intelligence, captured in the phrase, the buyer as hero. By treating buyers as organizational heroes, Eigenworks gets deep insight to the reasons organizations make buying decisions. These win-loss insights provide Eigenworks clients with a significant competitive position in their marketplaces.
Are you ready? What do you want to do with your life?
We're going to ask you a few questions that some of our candidates find a little bit odd.
Let's get
No
weird.
judgment, shoot.
You're shrunken down to the size of nickels and dropped to the bottom of a blender. What do?
You physically take the specs from the customer?
No, my secretary does that, or the fax.
So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
All right, listen. This interview is just one question. What are you gonna do to get us closer to Webtopia?
Come to think of it, I do have a meeting in a half an hour. Thank you for your time.
Are you ready?
Hello, Ready Product Radio heads, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ready Product Radio. This week's episode features a panel discussion on managing your product career, recorded live at a recent meeting of the Toronto Product Management Association. Thanks to moderator Deepika Mediratta and panelists Wendy Firestone, Judy, Mellett, and Michelle Brooks. Ready Product Principle number 25 is borrowed from Robert Pirsig. The product you're actually working on is a product called yourself. Enjoy the show.
So first we'll start with Wendy. Wendy Firestone, she works for Grossman Dolan Recruiting. She is her recruiting firm is focused on building tech and media firms, and she has lots of expertise in recruiting for technology and startup firms. So she can really bring that recruiting angle for us. So that's Wendy for us. And then the second one here is Michelle Brooks. Michelle is the VP of HR at SOTI, and SOTI is one of our sponsors, and they have a table at the back as well. You can go talk to them about SOTI. And she has, outside of SOTI, she has over 15 years of experience in HR, in workforce planning, training, talent management, all aspects of HR. So if you're thinking of any questions related to HR, you know who to ask. And then last but not the least, my director here, Judy, a former director. She's a director of service and strategy design at TELUS, and she has 10 years of exceptional leadership experience at TELUS. She's led large teams at TELUS, be it product managers, senior product managers, people managers. She's led them all at TELUS, and she's led teams in the accessory teams at TELUS, the apps team, product development, diverse experience at TELUS. So very, very excited to have them all here. So we'll start a session. I was hoping if we could go around and just, if you guys could just introduce yourself as well a little bit, and just talk about a little bit about, your experience with product managers, and then we'll go through. So maybe we'll start with Wendy.
Yeah, for sure. So like she mentioned, my name's Wendy Firestone. I work for GDR, Grossman Dolan Recruiting. We do a lot of recruiting for tech startups and mid-sized software companies. So we do product management, developers, everything in the tech world, you can say. We work with a lot of startups, but also some enterprise companies. So some of our clients are Shopify, Quandl, Shop.ca, Top Hat, Monocle, and then we work for some of the bigger players like Cisco, and so on. So I've been there for about 8.5 years, and I've met with a lot of product developers and hopefully can bring some insights to this conversation.
My name is Michelle Brooks. I'm the VP of HR at Sodi. And for those of you who haven't heard of Sodi, we're a very quickly growing software firm located in Mississauga. We specialize in enterprise mobility management. So what does that mean? The software we produce actually helps companies manage mobile devices. And when you and I think of mobile devices, we think of, your iPhone and your tablets. But and we do a lot of that. We do the whole BYOD craze. But really where Sodi adds value in the marketplace is with those rugged devices. So if you've ever gone through the airport, every scanner has Sodi Mobi Control. If you've gone to Best Buy and you've touched the tablet, that kiosk mode that you see has our software. So our software allows, Best Buy, for example, to lock down that tablet and only show you the apps that you want to see. Or in education is a great example. When your child goes into the classroom and they have a tablet, they can only get to the education tablet or the education app. So that's what we do. Huge applications across a variety of industries. Organization is growing very quickly. I think we grew by 35% headcount last year, and so we're looking for great talent. Specifically, development, product management is the key to driving innovation in our space. So that's where we're spending a lot of our time.
I feel like there's not a lot I can add to the wonderful the intro you gave me. I work within the products and services team at TELUS in the customer solutions group specifically. And for those of you who may not know, TELUS is a large multinational telecommunications company that obviously has the wonderful ducks and bunnies in the ads, mobile services, but we also, in addition to that, offer home services out west in what we call the ILEC territories. So that's our TV, broadband, and home phone services. And as well, many people don't know, we are diversified in areas such as health. We have a health practice, and as well, we offer a large call center and data storage solutions. So we're multinational beyond just the mobile phones, and I'm lucky to be a part of a team that has customer service at the center of what we do, and we really see ourselves largely as a solutions and customer service provider rather than the products and services themselves that we sell.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so thank you for having us.
Okay, perfect. So I thought, why don't we, have this session by starting a journey on how do you get into product management, and then we can move to how do you best maneuver your career in product management. So I was hoping that, we can go around and ask our panelists, how does one really get into product management? So I'm a student maybe, and I want to get into product management, or, I have product management experience overseas and I really want to get into product management here. So, or maybe I'm in a different career path, for example, an analyst or a software developer. So would you have any insights on how these folks can really get into product management? So we could go around, maybe Wendy, did you want?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can speak to a few areas, but one that really stands out is there's a big trend towards startups looking for technical product managers, and they require people who come from a development background. And so I'm finding there's a shift between developers becoming Scrum Masters and then product managers. So that's like a natural transition that I'm seeing right now. I guess also with product designers, there's a natural shift into becoming a product manager. And also in terms of startups, like I can really speak to startups in terms of my experience. A lot of times very early stage startups, like 4 to 5 people, the founder will operate as the product manager until they have the funds necessary to hire someone on board to take over all those responsibilities or whatnot. So just in terms of startups, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Michelle, any insights from the HR hat?
Yeah, so at Sodi, we tend to look for very technical product managers in our organization, and so we see a lot of our product managers come up through development. But that being said, our philosophy is about hiring great people and somebody who has that raw intelligence, the problem-solving skills, the passion and the drive. That's really the number one criteria we look for. So it doesn't matter what stream you're in. You have to have that passion and the drive to own the product. Get in there and fight for the features and do what you need. That's the sort of core philosophy of what we look for. Now, how do you get out there and find those roles? skills, you've already started. You're in the right place, right? You're networking, right? That, to me, if you're trying to break into product management without that experience, the key is to get out there and be talking to people who are in that space in every forum humanly possible. So going to events like this, going to conferences, doing everything of that nature is the key to the break-in my opinion.
I would echo the same as Michelle. We've broken away, and probably I've been at TELUS now for 18 years, and a large portion of that's spent in some degree of product development, product services, and we've broken away from the traditional technical or hiring from engineering disciplines to more of a diversified approach. So we now really look for bright people who have a collaborative mindset, who are critical thinkers, and we like to think about each of our services as small businesses, so a small business mindset. So we're valuing a diverse set of skills and backgrounds. So we have folks that are not only from the traditional engineering and IT backgrounds, but those that come from some of the front line, because there's a lot of empathy and client voice that comes through, some from our channel teams, from product marketing as well, because product marketing in our organization tends to take the P&L approach, so having kind of that business mindset. So we're more and more indexing on diversity and experience and looking for, I guess, values and behaviors as a leading indicator of people for that'll be successful within the organization.
Okay. Well, go back, and I would like to ask, Michelle, I know you're saying focus more on like the diversity piece. Would there be any key skills or insights that person can demonstrate in their in their application or a cover letter that they can really stand out, right? I know it's a very competitive environment.
It's always difficult to convey on paper the skills that are required for product management, because most of those skills are not something you can write about, right? They're, does the person portray speak with confidence? Are they able to understand the end user requirements? How do you can write that on a piece of paper, and it's not going to help you. And I'm sorry to say, recruiters don't read your cover letters, right? So so just don't spend so much time on that. Okay. Right, middle, right? So he does. He says he doesn't. But so yes, write a good cover letter, of course, saying all the right things. But the key is to try and really understand what the challenge is that at that particular company. So SOTI is experiencing extreme growth, and we require extreme technical depth, and we're in an industry that's changing really quickly. So that's what I would focus on if I was trying to get a product management job at SOTI. But at TELUS, it could be different. At any other company, it could be different. So it's the skills are the same for these roles. It's about demonstrating your ability to understand the company will show that you will be able to understand the customer requirements. So take the time to learn the company, understand what's important, and when you're connecting with those individuals, you're able to convey that, because we all just want to know that you understand. Doing that on paper, I don't have that magic answer for you. You can do your best that you can, but again, I say focus on getting out into the marketplace more than sending those applications, right? Do the networking, get referred, connect. Who do you know? If you're trying to get in, so who do you know at SOTI that may be able to help you do that? That's in this age of LinkedIn. Use networking to your advantage to go beyond that paper application, because it's really not where we see most of our applicants come from these days.
Okay. And I know, Judy, like at TELUS, a product manager role can be really diverse. You could be a product manager in an accessory team or product manager in apps. So for folks who are trying to get into TELUS, would you have any recommendations, on key skills that they can highlight, like in the cover letter or the resume, that they can stand out?
Yeah, again, you kind of start a very similar theme. So often it's very specific to what the business is trying to achieve, and whether there's some experience, like core level experience, in trying to be able to make the fit and identify yourself as somebody who's able to hit the ground running and come in and deliver value. But I would say the same thing. I look for is there progressive experience that's demonstrated in the roles? Is there expanding scope, demonstrated impact to the business that's articulated if it's coming in through paper? But again, very tough to get that across in a paper resume. And increasingly, we're looking for, because some of the behavioral and value things are traits that we're looking for are difficult to convey on paper. We are more and more emphasizing the verbal references, people who've worked with somebody in the past, and where we can meet out things like, do they have a collaborative approach? The way that they tackle problems, is it done in a manner that's very customer oriented? Do they have the ability to look at problems and ask questions? Do they have, a curious mindset and continuous learning? So I think we have kind of the standard approach of our recruitment, going through the filtering process on key skills and keyword searches that may filter up. But more and more, we're looking for kind of people that come through networking or people who've worked in past that can serve as references.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we look for diversity amongst our team. So we want, of our team of 15 to 20 PMs, we're going to want to see some people who have that startup experience. We're going to want to see some people who've come from a bigger company experience. We're in the post-startup phase of our lives. So having somebody who has the ability to roll with the punches the way you have to in startup is valuable to us. We're also looking for people to help us bring best practices. So for us, we really are trying to keep our options open and find the best talent. And startup offers a lot of great value in terms of ability to be adaptable and taking ownership. And these are traits we particularly value. So we do value that experience quite highly. But again, we look for diversity amongst the team, because that connection of all those different people aligning is really what creates a strong PM team overall.
I would say we neither look for one particular type over another. And I know that's probably as vague or frustrating to hear, but it would be the same. Like we've looked less at direct competitors, because we found that kind of breeds a mindset that has kind of similar lines of thinking. But we are effectively looking for diversity, and being corporate or startup doesn't necessarily weigh heavily into hiring criteria for us.
I would say for hiring for startups, a lot of our clients require previous startup experience, only because it's a type of role where you have to wear many hats, where you really need to dive deep into things. And not that you don't in an enterprise, but it's just a different overall mentality. So I think when we're presenting candidates to them, they prefer to see somebody who's been in the startup world, who's also maybe dabbled in the enterprise world, but who primarily comes from a startup mindset, if you will. Yeah, but like you mentioned, they also come with, people from enterprise backgrounds come with best practices and other things that they can bring to the table. But yes, I totally agree with you in that sense.
And I would say, it sounds like TELUS and SOTI are maybe a little bit forward thinking in this particular way. But I would say, as I've spent a lot of time as an external recruiter, and lots of large enterprise clients have no interest in startup. They're afraid of startup people because they think they're, wild and that they can't adapt, and they just want to bring their dog to work and stuff. Yeah. So there's lots of big enterprise clients who don't unfortunately value that experience, because they feel that those people won't be able to make the adjustment. In my experience, when people are ready to leave startup, they're ready to leave startup, right? They know it. So it just really depends on that particular organization. And I think when you're doing your research, these are the things you want to look at. LinkedIn is a great tool for you to look and see, okay, where have they hired people from before? And if you see it's all from big banks, nothing wrong with those big banks, is that that the team and what that organization tends to value is that big company experience. And then if you see a ton of people who've done a bit of startup, done a bit of this, then you say, okay, these guys are more open. And it sounds like certainly TELUS and SOTI and your clients are as well. So it just depends on the organization what they truly value. But
And Wendy, I would love to hear your thoughts because I know you hire for startups. So what skills and experience do you think folks who are trying to enter in a startup that they could demonstrate, in their resume and cover letters?
For sure. Like they mentioned, it's hard to sort of write down all your experience and tell everything that you bring to the table. But publications and blog posts are huge, just so that there's context to see a product that they've had complete ownership of or be able to view it. Another area that I wanted to touch on was that some of our clients look for not just technical PMs, but also, have some mobile experience or some big data and analytics experience or have UX. So when you're applying for those type of roles, if you were previously a product designer and, worked with wireframing and UX design, you have that attribute to bring to the table. So I think those sort of things set you apart from just, a pure product management type role. And that's what's intriguing to these people applying to those specific type roles, is that they encompass that, those qualities.
Yeah. And let's break the myth. Do recruiters read cover letters? Yes? No?
More so the resume. Honestly, 1 to 2 pages is like the perfect amount. The way we operate is that we meet with everyone on the phone first, then we have a face-to-face interview, and then we present them to the client. So by the time we read the resume, meet with them, and present them to the client, we really have a good understanding of what they're about. Okay. So yeah, cover letter,
Yeah, the cover letter's been replaced by looking at your LinkedIn profile and looking at your blog post. It's changed. What's your cover letter is what you're saying about you. We want to see what other people are saying about you.
That's true. Okay, so now let's say we, heard all the great insights and we've got a dream job as a product manager. Now let's chat about how do you manage your career as a product manager. So maybe we'll start with Judy, and how does the organization? So you're a director at TELUS. How does my manager and exec evaluate my product management skills?
Yeah, and maybe I go back to the product management role at TELUS serves as almost, I'd say, a hub function where we're in part kind of technical to the marketing team, and we're the marketers to the technical teams. And Rena's here knows this. So ultimately, we cannot, and we're a highly matrix organization, being as large as we are, and the complexity of the lines of business that we deal with. So ultimately, we are looking for people who can kind of talk those two walks of business to very diverse stakeholders. And as I said, we are looking for folks who can not only show excellent organizational project management skills, but can also then convey a business case to stakeholders. And ultimately, the KPIs or the metrics for that business line are going to be what determines your success and your performance through your stakeholders. And the way in which you achieve that, so the how, will be a critical piece, because you at TELUS cannot achieve any of those metrics without working through a large number of organizations, whether it be communicating to the call center agents around what they need to say or do in terms of support, getting multiple sources of information. So tracking not only your defects and all the data-driven sides of managing your business, but all the other feedback loops, like talking to your front lines in terms of feedback that you're getting or early triggers to issues that you might be experiencing. So again, very collaborative kind of function that is multidisciplinary. So you're able to not only be technical and drive kind of performance through your products, but be able to also articulate business case for evolution, acquire capital funding. So it's really kind of, as I said, a small business mindset and being able to manage your service as a whole entity.
Okay. And Michelle, any thoughts on, how can folks, stand out as a product manager at Sori? They got their dream role, and how do they stand out now?
Yeah, so I would agree that the product manager ends up sitting as the center core, representing the product to the business and representing the business to the to the developers. And so people who are able to speak to both of those audiences are really the ones that easily stand out. They, if they've got street cred with the developers, life is good for a product manager. And same if they're able to work with the business. So For us, it's about somebody who takes full ownership of the feature, for example, that they're working on, that they own it, they drive it, they are not going to sleep, they're not going to take no from a developer who says it's not possible, and they're going to go to the mat with the business to talk about why this is important. So that drive and passion is really for us what stands out. The ability to defend your ideas and fight for them. We have the unique situation where our CEO is a developer. And so that makes for a difficult job for product managers, because this is a business-minded person who knows how things are really, how long they're going to take. So our product managers are able to work with those different groups is a huge, huge metric. The thing is that product managers very rarely manage people, but they're the driver for a lot of the product. And they have to be able to do that through influence. So successful product managers at Sodi are able to manage through influence and get people to do what they need without having that because I said so approach, which we know never works anyway. But they have a unique challenge in that they have to really inspire people to push that little bit extra to get that the product going. So that I think is a big challenge, and those are the PMs in our organization stand out, are the ones that are able to talk the talk with whoever they need to, and who can really get work done without having sort of that true power to do it.
Okay. Wendy, any insights?
Yeah, no, they covered a lot of it, and you guys, I feel like, can speak a lot towards moving up within an organization, whereas I'm placing people. But yeah, I totally agree with the metrics and proven achievements and so on. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And if you look at like a successful product manager, are there any skills or experience did they really demonstrate that help them move their career forward? In the organization, any examples you can think of?
So, sorry, was that directed to me?
Anyone.
Oh, okay. So some of our clients, depending on the space that they're in, like the industry, so some of our clients are in the IPTV space or in the healthcare space, and what we find is if somebody sort of entrenched themselves in that specific industry, it's a very good vertical move for them to move up within that industry. So if they come with that experience, they can just gradually move up. They've worked on this IPTV platform, and now they're going to move to this one, and it's sort of like a progression, if you will. So yeah, we find that very industry-based.
I would add the one thing. I think the distinguishing feature, if I think about the people who kind of moved on into increasingly senior roles within TELUS, there's a lot of good product managers that they're great, in fact, because I've worked with just a number of super talented people who have varying diverse skill sets. As I said, I have somebody who works on my team. He has a design background and being very successful in terms of his progression. But if I think about what distinguishes kind of the upper echelon tier and people who move forward in their careers, it's often the nuanced ability to sell the idea to the audience and be able to articulate kind of the benefit back to the group that they're addressing. So the idea isn't just kind of the business and here's my pitch or this is why you should invest in the next evolution of this particular service. It's also then talking to perhaps the engineering team and what that means in terms of the business. And often the unifying language is centered around like customer-centric needs, right? Here's the market opportunity, here's what the customers are saying, or here's the pain point that people are experiencing with a particular product, and this is what it's going to mean for us if we can do this. So the ability to sell and clear communication skills is often kind of the distinguishing feature, provided all other kind of the base level things are there that we've talked about today.
I think one of what we've seen is people who are willing to just take it all on. We've Sodi's growing so quickly. Somebody needs to write something for our marketing brochure. Guess what? Who we're calling? We're calling the PMs, right? So, because they understand the language, but they're technical enough. So, where we've seen people really rise is the people who have the company's interest at heart. we're not using that it's not my job, that's going to affect my timelines, somebody who's going to jump in and just get it done. That's what really has shown where we've seen people really progress within the company and really be seen as valuable, because they're the person you can lean on. That's all we all want, right? In any job, that's not exclusive to PM. But because PM, again, is that linchpin, they're being pulled on by all sorts of different people. So being able to prioritize and be able to help those different teams out when they're in trouble is going to help you when you need something done as well.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so we heard all the insights, and let's say we're progressing very well in a product management role. We've been doing that role for quite a few years, and now we're looking for a leadership role or a senior role. So we would love to hear from our panelists here. What's a strategy that you recommend to really land into a leadership role in the organization? It's a little bit different now that maybe people management. What would you recommend for folks who are looking into leadership roles?
I like how it went from how do you get hired? We're now we're in the executive suite here. This is quite a fast track journey.
Sure. I mean, I can answer. So at SOTI, we value our people, and there's no greater measurement of our managers than building a strong team. So that is, we talk about, I don't think there's a day that goes by that we are talking to our leadership team about building and developing their talent. And so product managers who really want to move into leadership need, you always have to do the job you want before you get the job you want. So be part of developing other talent. Help train, mentor, help out that junior PM or business analyst who needs a hand. Those are the things that are going to get, raise some eyebrows and say, hey, this person's ready to be a leader. So that's truly what we value, and building and hiring great talent is what keeps you thriving. We definitely have the philosophy at SOTI is you want to hire people that are all smarter than you. And luckily I've been able to do that. And so great leaders want to help develop their people and aren't afraid to bring on the best talent. And they make that a number one priority in all that they do.
Sorry. I also can speak to change management. So like bringing a leader in of times of growth or times of disruption really helps. You need somebody to lead through change. And I think that speaks to bringing on somebody in a leadership capacity to take on.
And I guess the bit I would add, because we've been kind of talking kind of hierarchical within a product management function. And again, the philosophy at TELUS is you cannot be a great business owner if you don't have the diversity. So don't be afraid to take several laterals before you're seeking that next promotion. As much as you say, hey, I've got deep expertise in one particular area of product management, you can't argue that someone who's been in product management and also perhaps had a channel function working the retail sales or had a call center operational piece, they're going to be more well-rounded and more likely to be able to talk more diversely about kind of the greater business benefit and have a broader sense of what the needs are if they've had multiple roles. Better product managers are ones that have had experience from different vantage points across the organization. And those are the people that are likely to be considered first and foremost for leadership functions. And that honestly, that's a change from when I started my career with where a lot of depth of experience, kind of you just worked your way and you're going to get the next one. That's changed a lot. And I think that speaks to just the complexity of the world that we're in and the ability or the needs of organizations to be much more well-rounded and considering multi or diverse skill sets when they're hiring their leaders.
For sure. And on to that point, you might not know which area or which product you're passionate about until you experience it. So that's a good point, moving horizontally before you move.
Yeah, when I'm coaching my folks, and I have this discussion so often, how do I get this next promotion? How do I get to the next level? And I'm like, move outside, because I'm pretty sure what you're talking about is how do I get my boss's job? And I always say, kind of go for this role, and then if your boss leaves, you now have two angles up, right? You potentially in the new role that you've taken on, or if your old boss leaves, you've already done that role. So it's a little bit of kind of don't see it as kind of one step, increase kind of the number of chances you have. And in doing so, you're also building your own skill set out. But it's a common discussion point I have with many of my teams who are very ambitious, and I don't want to thwart kind of the enthusiasm and ambition there. But it really is the key to getting what you want.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen that with a lot of organizations, that they'll encourage you that every 3 years you should just change your role as well. So you're always learning, right?
Yeah, TELUS is like a constant carousel of people that are moving in and out of organizations. And I think that's really quite healthy, because you're not only building succession planning and protecting the business, but you are also creating that diversity and experience.
Okay, I think we've had some really passionate discussion on this. I know I have a few other questions, but we'll leave that to the networking portion. If you stay back, then folks can ask you questions as well. But I want us to all give a big round of applause to our expert panelists. I think it was really useful to learn that, like applying for product manager roles is not just, all technical, skills, it's a lot about culture fit. I know, but I'm just saying for our folks, right, as well, right, that it's a culture fit, it's values and looking for really diverse experience. So, it's not just, folks coming, let's say from Rogers to TELUS, but you're really looking for that overall experience. And the fact that, folks look at the HR process and make that easy. I think that was eye-opening for me, right? So I think that was a really great discussion. I want to thank you all. I think we got a treat today to hear from 3 different folks, recruitment versus HR versus the product management leadership.
Ready Product Radio is sponsored by Eigenworks. They specialize in win-loss analysis and offer customer development as a service. They'll extract candid feedback that will improve your sales approach, uncover competitive intelligence, and help you pivot as needed. Find out more at www.eigenworks.com. That's EIGENWORKS.com.
Today's episode was brought to you by Under 10 Consulting. Get your product teams up to speed quickly. Leverage the latest methods and a proven process designed specifically for your organization. Under 10 Consulting. Manage the business of your products.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Ready Product Radio, part of the Ready PDM network. This is when most podcasters ask you to leave a review on iTunes if you like the show. My only request is if you found the show entertaining, inspiring, or informative, please share it with a colleague or friend who may feel the same way. Also, note that the views expressed in this episode do not necessarily reflect my views or the views of the Ready PDM network. If you want yourself or your product to be ready, then keep your eyes on your markets, your ears to your customers, your mind on their experiences, both good and bad, and finally, keep your hearts on your products. Until next time, thank you for listening. You can contact us on Twitter at Ready Product Radio. That's RDYPRODUCTRADIO. And on the web at www.readyproductradio.com.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.